This is the latest album from experimental horrorcore noise gangster rap trio QUICKIE, who in my opinion are one of the premier acts in all of hip-hop. I was pretty surprised to see the trio release another project so soon, considering their last full-length project came out a little over a year ago. It ended up being one of my favorite albums last year, as well as one of my favorite albums in QUICKIE's discography. It leans so heavily into merging horror and hip-hop into an eerily cinematic yet grounded experience about mostly inner-city violence. And on this album, it fully submerges itself in horror with an immense focus on haunting soundscapes. The trio have always been proficient in how they utilize and manipulate sound, so hearing their ambition all the way through on this album is extremely satisfying in my opinion, just in time for spooky season. It opens up with the classic clipping intro that they do on every album, then it moves on to Say the Name, which has a distorted sample of the album title and a darkened instrumental as David uses the Candyman lore to tell this story of interracial love, interracial violence. Then we have 96 Neve Campbell with Cam in China that starts out with a startling door knock that is reused throughout the track. I believe the track is describing like a reverse checkmate against a serial killer in a movie where a hunter becomes hunted. The rhythms and flows start off sludgy and skeletal, but with each verse the tempo of the track speeds up, invoking this heart-pumping tension. Cam and China absolutely kill it on their verses. The following Something Underneath is a thrilling track with a pitch black dark ambience, as David is speedily rapping about a monster underneath the water that has been killing everything on the surface. This is far from the only track to use noise and dark ambience. The following two tracks center around these sonic qualities, like Make Them Dead features this drilling noise lead and some occultish choir cascades on the refrain, and She Bad, which has this creasing and creaking sample of like a gate or a broken viola even. Lyrically, I think David is describing this empty dense forest with rumors of a wraith or something, and she is using her appeal to lure people in only to never let them leave. The bridge of this track even has this like subdued shrieking that slides across the channels that scared the living shit out of me the first time I heard it. Pain Every Day is yet another track with a ghoulish atmosphere with the spectral samples. I love the percussion breaks here to amplify this thick tension, as the lyrics are describing the ghosts of those wrongly killed coming back to haunt their murderers, even pushing them to suicide. Check the Lock has some hollow bony percussion that echoes out into the background. The narrative of this track is quite engaging. David is telling the story of a gangbanger's paranoia, how he flaunts this pride and confidence, but he is constantly checking the lock, peeking out the window, hearing sirens in his head, and even sleeping in his chucks. Looking Like Meat with Horror is an amazing track and one hell of a collaboration between the two. The beat is murky and unsettling as hell with the rippling bass and icy piano loops. The chemistry and personalities of the MCs on this track are just incredible. On Horror's verse especially, the manipulated synth and bass sounds extraterrestrial. It is wicked as hell. Eaten Alive sounds like something I would hear off of like Resident Evil 7, giving off that twisted Baker family vibe, especially during the verses and their subject matter. The swampy, jagged, deconstructed jazz instrumental is nerve-wracking, especially with how many percussion elements there are here. Most notably the sheer amount of like cluttering and rustling cans that overwhelm the listener, especially in the second half. It is fantastic. Body for the Pile has been out for like years now. I remember hearing it on like an Adult Swim compilation, but seeing it re-released in this fashion garners no complaint for me since it seamlessly fits into the album's theme. It is a disturbing track about 3 police officers dying in different ways as David presents this in graphically lurid fashion. And Lacing sees the group venture into cloud rap, but with that clipping touch. The warped sample is groovy as hell, the hook is catchy and surreal. It's a banger. And lastly, we have the instrumental send-off Secret Place. I personally just don't end up enjoying most of the trio's closers because I know how adept they are when it comes to sound, and this track really doesn't do anything for me. I like the nature samples and the blunt drone, but by the time it's over, it just does not resonate at all with me. It's the same issue I had with their album last year, but just like their album last year, I think this album is awe-inspiring and genuinely scary. The trio continue to be one of the most interesting and forward-thinking acts in the genre, and God, I am begging for more. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down below, and I will see you on the next video. I'd give it a